Hi everyone, this is Ken from Vintage Card Voyage, and
This is
my
Mark.
co-host is here, Mark.
Hi, everyone.
And today we're going to talk about trends. I know we're vintage card collectors, so if you're like us, you might be seeing all these trends. And I think the trends are great, but I don't actually participate in a lot of them.
Yeah.
So we're going to go through 7 trends that we see in the market, all kind of in the last maybe handful of years.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just going to talk about our opinions. So first trend is vaulting. So Mark, what do you think about vaulting?
I have not participated in vaulting. And I was talking to you offline about this, about how there was a podcast I was listening to. They were talking about how very few percentage-wise people actually, he thinks, do it because so many people like to have their cards, their physical cards in hand. And so this obviously prevents that from happening. There's an ease of use to it, obviously, as far as like if you want to post on eBay or wherever and you use the vault to get it, to market quicker. But then it limits the ability to use it anywhere else. Like if you wanted to trade it in person or, use it, sell it at a show or what have you. So, I'm curious to hear what you say, but I'm wondering. I do wonder how long it's going to last for. I feel like it's it's obviously going to depend on the companies and whether they think it's profitable or not.
Yeah.
And so that's the market will say whether or not it's going to continue. I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that vaulting will grow, but just like you, I don't think the size will be huge because there's the physical, tangible part of it. I also think the rise in in-person shows makes it that you'd want to have your cards in hand so you could trade or sell or whatever.
Right.
Although I guess you can just show somebody the card that's in the vault and
Right.
that way. I kind of think vaulting is exclusively for people who are mostly investment focused, like that's their main thing.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's like they should just call it flipping. I mean, vaulting / flipping. That's what it is. You're just holding on to the asset temporarily before you transact it again. And I'm so old school. Everything I buy, I think first is going into my collection. Whereas I think there are now a new class of collectors who just automatically, they don't want to have it in their possession. Like, I'm just going to flip it in a year or 6 months or after somebody has a good game or like that. Those are games I don't play. So,
right. It's funny using the term flipping. It feels to me, in my mind, flipping is a more of an immediate sort of thing. Like you get it and immediately flip it, as opposed to like leaving there for a few years to then eventually flip it. So.
Yeah. And I was gonna say there's kind of like a parallel between house flipping. Like there's an industry of people who come and buy a house, but they actually add value. They usually like refurbish, modernize things, and then the value goes up. In card collecting, I guess you could get it graded. That could be your version of like upgrading a card if you buy it raw, but it's got to be in your possession. I guess it doesn't now though, right?
Well, for grading, no, of course not.
Yeah. Anyways, vaulting is interesting. I think so. My belief is it's here to stay, but it will always be kind of a small thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's hard for me to predict things because, again, it's going to be driven by those companies and whether or not they want to, like, if it makes sense for them, because they have to have the physical, like, place where they keep all these things and like the temperature control and all that kind of things involved with it. So if it doesn't make sense for them to make money, then they're not going to do it. But
yeah.
Someone else
they're going to need a certain population of people to do it for it to be a viable business, and
their margins or whatever.
Yeah, I'm guessing they don't have that now, but they're trying to get there.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, second trend is breaking. People can probably guess where I stand, but what do you think about breaking?
So I actually took part in a break recently only because when I subscribed to PSA, I got a certain amount of credit with Fanatics Live, or what I don't know if it was PWCC eventually and switched over. Anyways, So I had that money sitting in my account and it was going to expire in like a month or so. And I'm like, I don't want to just leave money, like let it go away. So I did a couple of breaks recently. Just picked up like the 2024 Topps Chrome update, and just did a PYT, like picked the Tigers for both of them. Ended up having to pay like $25 because of the, cost, whatever, and shipping, all that kind of stuff. So I am guilty having done it, even though I personally do not support it, I don't think, because it just, I mean, I understand the logic of it. Like, it allows people to get into cards without having to spend like the absurd amounts of money that are involved with it, with just buying product right now.
Yeah.
But I think it's a money loser, generally speaking, and which, I think with wax in general is a kind of a money loser these days. But so, I mean, it's nice to be able to pick your team, or, however you want to do it. But I just don't think it's whether it's gonna last or not. I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay. Well, I would agree that it's maybe at its peak in popularity, or maybe we're past it now.
Yeah.
I think of it purely as like entertainment for people.
Yeah.
It's like it's a live lottery. That's what it is. It's like, and I could see the excitement in it. I've never participated in a break. The only one I would consider is joining one of those vintage breaks where they open like a really old pack of cards and I get one card.
Yeah.
I might do that, but I haven't. I think breaking is probably here for the long haul, but I think it'll be less and less popular. I kind of personally hate breaking. I just think it's like, as a business person, feels like there's the distributor of the cards making money on the breaker, and then the breaker makes money on you. I guess that's not that different from a card store.
Right.
But I think it's a money loser. I think people who do a lot of breaks at some point basically say, geez, I'm just not making my money back.
It depends on how many breaks they fill, right? If they can't fill all the breaks, then they're losing money, and so they have to lower the pricing and whatever. And so, it's obviously all profit driven, and so, but there is the entertainment value to it. And so, like there's a few breakers who just have been around for a while, and they just know what they're doing, and they're entertaining. And so, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, but I think for the true collectors, breaking is just not going to be something good for them.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. The next trend is live selling, which is, I think, dominated by Whatnot.
Right. Again, this is the same kind of thing. I think like the entertainment value is like the height of like, why people do it, I think is, and obviously it's another route for dealers to like, get rid of product, to sell stuff. And so if like eBay is not working, then they want to use this. And like, it also cuts out I don't know what the fees are on like certain these, platforms like Whatnot or whatever, but
Whatnot has a fee.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know if it's like less than eBay or more. Like, I'm assuming it's a little less.
I think it's less than eBay.
Yeah.
But it's significant. It's not like nothing.
Okay. So I have been on Whatnot and another, like one of the content creators who I watch, I went to one of his Whatnot things. I've been to other ones, like on YouTube, they have like live streams or whatever. And so, and I know eBay sometimes does these, and Fanatics Live, obviously. And so it's interesting. I think this versus breaking, I think this may have a little more of a long tail to it. I think just because they can, while they can do breaking, they can also just sell like, individuals, singles basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that has a little more length of interest to it personally.
Yeah. This is a trend I think is here to stay.
Yeah.
And part of the reason I say that is I know that it's not just cards. The people are selling all sorts of stuff, lunch boxes, watches, whatever people collect, hobbies.
It's like QVC basically. So
yeah, I mean, and when I think about it, it's like, sometimes I want to buy a card, I'll jump on eBay. That's not that interactive. You're just looking
Right.
at these, whereas it's more exciting to have a live person talk about the card and show it. And, it's just way more dynamic. So I kind of feel like we're going to see in our lifetime people who buy a lot of their cards on whatnot, not
Yeah.
on eBay, and yeah, the business reality of it is dealers, some of them really like it because they can go through an enormous amount of transactions in a short period of time.
Yeah.
And the tool is very good and easy to do that. Just swipe to bid on an
Right.
auction.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's to me it's accelerated eBay and more dynamic than eBay. So eBay for the longest time has been the dominant marketplace for people to sell cards. So I think this one will keep growing,
Yeah.
and I think it's here to stay.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yep. Next one is pre-grading, and there's humans who do pre-grading, like they look at your card before you send it in and give you advice.
Right.
And then there's the electronic part. There's apps that do this for you now.
Right.
What do you think of that trend?
Yeah, I mean, I know like a lot of card stores are kind of they're having their employees do this, what have you, and then just dealers probably are having it as part of their arsenal, so to speak, of things they offer. Um, I mean, it's so hard to say just because you never know what the grade is actually going to be because it's so subjective sometimes, a lot of the times. Again, I don't know how much they're going to start integrating AI into this decision making. Like maybe it's already happening, who knows? But it's just so subjective that it's hard to you're then depending on two different people, right? Instead of, well, one person, then the number of graders that you get in PSA or SGC, whatever. And so it kind of it's more honestly for peace of mind than anything else, it feels like.
Yeah.
And also just again, when you don't feel like you're the person who knows enough about this, like I'm going to find someone who does,
Yeah.
or offers the service at least, and then presumably they know more than I do when I'm giving them the cards, to do this. And so there's a level of trust, obviously, that you have to have, and that's hard to do sometimes with people that are offering the service because you don't know them necessarily. You hope you do. And so, yeah, it's hard. I mean, I think it's, as far as the people part of it, I feel like it's interesting. I think it's valuable, but it also depends on who you're getting the pre-grading done with.
Sure.
And then as far as the virtual part of, or the tech part, I don't know. I don't know the technology well enough to say where we are at this point. It's hard. It's hard for me to believe that if you use a phone to scan something, that they're going to be able to tell surface, for instance, right? How is that going to pick that up? I don't know. Edges, corners, yeah, that's fine. And
centering, I think.
Right, centering definitely. But the other kind of stuff, you're not going to, I don't know how you're going to find surface stuff personally. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just don't know the technology well enough. But
to me, this one is the pre-grading. The human part of it is going to go away at some point because I think of it this way. It's I think I'm going to guess if you're under the age of 35, you don't do a pre-grader. You kind of maybe grown up with grading, so you're so comfortable with it, and you just there's no mystery to it, and
right.
So you're just submitting yourself. I think it's kind of for the people who were collectors and stopped and came back in. That there was no grading before, so they're like, "What is this?" It's so mysterious to them.
Right.
Those are the people I think that are doing the pre-grading, and I think over time there'll be fewer and fewer of those people. So I think the human pre-grading, although I think it's a good service and a valuable one, because if you're like me, you've submitted cards and gone, "Oh my God, why did I submit that? That is a horrible grade."
Right.
But the part that I think is here to stay is the tech part, because I think not only is AI getting better at recognizing things, I think the photos we take, we can't imagine right now the detail it's going to pick up. but I'm going to guess that it will pick up corners and edges and surfaces and all that as technology increases. And then it's like good input in, good output out, because AI is getting better at recognizing.
Right.
So, if you don't have an app right now on your phone doing that, I would put it on there, just because I've been using Colex, I think that's what it's called, and
Yeah,
it's
collects or
pretty
whatever it's called.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even eBay has, you can take a picture and it finds listings of the same card.
Right. Yeah. One thing I was going to say too is that when I think about pre-grading, I'm in my mind, I'm thinking about like vintage or like older cards, right? And so like, because modern, it's like there's, pretty much looking at a card packed fresh, it's going to be a 10 or a 9, right? Usually,
Yeah,
unless it's like they butchered it somehow. But like the quality control just wasn't there back, during vintage times or whatever. So that's why it's much more like needed, I guess, in a way.
yeah, and then that brings up a different point, which is like, why do people grade modern? Like, I wonder if people will stop grading modern, because you're right. It's like everything's a 9, 9.5, 10. It's like, and I'm starting to see now that there's not even that much of a gap between a 10 and a 9 for the modern stuff,
Right.
So why get it graded?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, so the next one is digital collectibles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were talking offline about this. Like when NFTs came out a few years ago, I was dubious initially of like the length of, the likelihood of this to being a thing.
Yeah.
Just with like having, obviously worked in the technology space for a while, like knowing, like seeing trends happen and kind of falling away and whatever, so yeah, I was dubious initially. The fact that it still is technically around kind of surprises me, really. And the fact that, I mean, it doesn't surprise me at all that like, Tops or Fanatics, whatever, like entered the space. I'm not at all shocked by that. The fact that it's still a thing surprises me, and I don't know how long it's going to last for, unless there's just a shift societally, I think, in like the interest in this. So,
I mean, we should look up the actual numbers, but I would be shocked if NFTs become even 1% of the hobby.
right.
I mean, it feels like it was a fad that's already starting to go away. And I think proof of this is that NBA Top Shot thing, which was you could own a highlight. I mean, I knew people who weren't even into collecting who bought some of that, and now I never hear about it at all. So I feel like it's, yeah, I think this is a trend that will die eventually. Maybe there'll be a small niche. I hope it dies, because when you go online to look for a card now, it's like, and you sort by price, then the digital ones show up first because they're cheap, because nobody had to print anything there.
Right. Yeah, I think that there's also a movement happening for like back toward the physical. And so again, I don't know if that in the collectible space, but just like I think about that when like, for publications, for instance, like magazines, there's a few places that are starting to do physical magazines again, and they hadn't been for a while. And so I just wonder if that's going to continue to happen, and then therefore that's at odds with what's happening as far as digital goes.
Yeah. I mean, that's an interesting thing. Maybe what historians will study is that COVID was the height of the virtual world,
Right.
And then as things opened up again, physical things became more important. People in person became more important.
Right.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
So next trend is game used cards. So people might not remember this, but I think it was Bobby Witt and Corbin Carroll. It's the beginning of this year, do you think?
I think it was early. I think May, something like May this year.
Yeah, they actually put physical cards in their pockets or in their uniform, and they played with the cards, and then after the game they signed them. So, that did make something scarce.
Yes.
What do you think of that trend?
I personally think it's kind of goofy. I kind of liken it to, in a way, the fact that they sometimes mic up the guys playing or whatever, and they they have the broadcasters talking to them while it's happening. It's not the same thing, obviously, but it kind of in my mind kind of feels like the same sort of thing. It's kind of gimmicky, a little bit.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that to me felt like Fanatics was like trying to like test stuff out and seeing how it's gonna if it's gonna work or not, if they think it's people are gonna be interested in it. That was it, really.
Yeah.
Test case.
And it seems like maybe it didn't take off because that's the one time I've heard of it.
Right.
I think if they really wanted to succeed, they need to get more than two guys doing this.
I mean, the fact that Carroll had a bad season too didn't help, I suppose, but yeah.
Yeah, actually, that would be kind of fun to go see if somebody's reselling any of those cards.
Yeah.
Because there's not that many of them out there. I thought it was an intriguing idea. I thought this is a way to have something quite unique, and actually to have an autograph, because I do collect autographs. So I thought,
right.
So that's an autograph that's more unique than just any autograph that the person signs. It's actually been in a game. So
right.
Now, if the game was more important, that'd be even better. If it was a World Series game, that would be kind of interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I actually think this trend will survive, if I were to predict. I don't know how much it'll grow, but I just like the creativity of it. I think it's goofy too.
So maybe like a once a year sort of thing. Or
yeah. We'll see. We'll see next year if Corbin Carroll does it again.
Exactly.
So last trend is Tops Now, which has been around for a while.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of Tops Now?
So I think it's interesting. I've not bought any of the Tops Now cards, products, whatever. I think that they should be much more picky about what they do, as opposed to doing it every single day or every single game day or whatever. I feel like that's just kind of, they're finding excuses to put product out there, and to again, it's very much profit driven, obviously, which is not surprising. It's their business, of course they're being profit driven, but
yeah,
I feel like if they were more selective of the games, or whatever the milestones, the moments, whatever that they picked, that would be more fun, I think, for me, or interesting to me personally. So
yeah. So Tops Now to me is going to be here forever. I mean, because I think they've proven out the business model. I think they know they get enough people buying those cards that it's a pretty powerful machine already.
Mm-hmm.
I have bought Tops Now cards. Sometimes I'll buy Tops Now cards if there's a rookie that has entered the league where there's not a card yet, because there's usually that lag, right? So just to get it, to have the excitement of the player, and also it's kind of like the pre-rookie card, and it has a rookie symbol on it too. So. But the other reason I like Tops Now is because the scarcity. It's I've been collecting Shohei Ohtani and Juan Soto Tops Now cards from the rookie season, and both of them have between 20 and 30 of those cards. It tells you how many they print.
Yeah, right.
20 or 30 different cards, but they're different moments.
Mm-hmm.
But for Juan Soto, I know most of them are between 1,000 and 2,000. That's it, of each card. So I like the scarcity element of it.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe it's such a niche thing that it never really appreciates in value.
And so this is my ignorance. How did they limit the number of Tops Now cards they do per day, or is it just kind of whatever suits them in a way?
It's the cards are on sale, I believe, 24 hours. So it could be there was they did USA basketball this summer, And so there was one card, I think they sold hundreds of thousands of those cards because a lot of people wanted it. But most cards, they don't print that many because most people don't go up there and buy it in that 24-hour window.
Right.
So that's kind of unique too. The demand is like open for 24 hours. And, there's some cards where there's only a couple hundred sold because it's a more niche-y thing. But that's how they regulate how many they print.
But it's not like just one Tops Now card per day. Like they're not just picking one thing. It's like whatever they want to do in each day.
No, usually there's multiple moments in every day.
Okay.
That they're printing things happening. And I think it's baseball that you see most of the Tops Now action happening.
Right. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Anyways, those are a bunch of the trends going on right now. So if we've missed something, tell us about it, throw it in the comments, and give us your opinion about these trends.
Yeah, exactly. Let us know how wrong or right we are about these. So, all right. Well, thanks, everyone.
Thank you.